morning and welcome to another weekly update. I hope you are doing well. So a couple of things to talk about this week, and the first of them is a fairly important breaking change. So I feel like this is going to impact people. So pay attention to this one. So Microsoft are making some changes to the change notification process for Microsoft Graph, specifically around presence and online meeting notifications. The kind of headline is that the standard, if you remember with change notifications, you can have basic notifications and you can kind of have enhanced notifications that contain all of the detail and mean that you don't have to go and make additional calls. When they first came out, presence notifications actually included all of the information you needed in the basic notification. That's changing. Okay, so what's changing? So presence and online meeting notifications, their basic change notifications will only contain just the fact that the change happened. It won't tell you who the change was. It don't tell you any information about the presence. The meeting one won't give you any meeting credentials at all or anything like that. You'll have to go and find them yourself. So big change. A couple of ways around this that you could kind of approach dealing with this if you're going to be impacted by this. The first is to sign up for, when you make your subscriptions, to enhanced notifications. You can do that, or rich notifications, I think they're technically called. Rich notifications, they will include all that information. There is a bit more to set up because you need to have a SSL certificate. You need to do some form of decryption because it will then the body, if you like, of that change notification will be encrypted with your public key and all that sort of stuff. So there's stuff to work through there. That's probably the least impactful change. The other change you could make is to respond to the basic notification by then looking up in Graph with an additional Graph call to find the detail of what you're after. So we know this because of a blog post that got posted to the Microsoft DevBlogs blog. So I'll show you that now. This is important. This affects the V1 endpoint. This isn't a beta thing. This is affecting V1. So this is the GA release. The other big thing about this, there's not an awful lot of time on this. This change is taking place on June the 1st. Okay, so that's really not very long. It's basically a month, okay, which is not a long time for a V1 change. This is going to impact lots of people, okay? So if you are looking, if you do presence notification subscriptions, the new basic notification is going to look like this. No information about the person, no information about the state. There is this odata.id. This tells you where to go in Graph to go and find the information you're after. So the user ID, and the presence. Okay. I suppose technically you do have the user ID. Sorry, I got that wrong. You do have the user ID. You don't have the new presence information. You can go and get it by making a get call to this endpoint here, and that will tell you the new presence. Same with online meeting notification. It's a bit kind of more fluid. This will tell you about new meetings, online meetings. You can then go and get them, obviously, by then just calling the online meetings list. You then have to do the deduping. You then have to work out which of those meetings is the new one and all that sort of stuff. But you could do it. Or you could do rich notifications. But again, rich notifications, there's just some work to do there around the encryption that you need to be aware of. Okay, so call to actions, things that you need to do. If you are running any kind of Microsoft Graph endpoint, you're doing change notifications for presence or online meetings, you should go and you're responding to these change notifications to do things, you need to go and check your code. If you have software that you've got from an ISV that you know subscribes to presence notifications or the creation of new meetings, you need to go and talk to them and make sure that they are listening to this because this is coming in like a month's time. All right. Big news there. I will do a blog post about this, but I wanted you to all hear it as well because it's kind of important. So spread the word, please. These are breaking changes to the Microsoft Graph presence and online meeting basic change notifications. Do I think it's too short of a time to give notice on a V1 GA endpoint? Yes, I do. I think actually there should be more notice on stuff like this. GA is supposed to be stable. This is a month's notification, which isn't really long enough for anybody's dev cycle. Even the most agile of organizations would struggle, I think, to go from, getting it on the roadmap to getting it out the door in a month. So big news there. Be aware of that one. Okay, other things. Happier notes. The Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio Code has a new version up. There's improvements to all sorts of things. There's a kind of interesting one around the API-based message extensions. So we talked about this last week a little bit, and it now supports different types of authentication, which is cool. Which is nice. It just makes things easier. It's another reason for like continuing your development in Visual Studio Code. They're making it easier and easier to use Visual Studio Code and Visual Studio, but like the Teams toolkit is the thing that is evolving there to make all of these. There's kind of slowly hoovering up all of the annoying edge cases around, writing code for Microsoft Teams and also more, other Microsoft apps as well, and just kind of addressing them all, which is really nice. This one I really like, the ability to debug messaging extensions in the Teams app test tool. Really, really great, especially as we see more and more people writing messaging extensions because they are a good Copilot plugin kind of vector. Then this is really good to see. That makes it easier and easier to do the debugging because, it's hard to do the debugging outside of deploying all the way to Microsoft Teams, which is a pain, just takes a long time, even with the new stuff in the Teams toolkit to handle all of the tunneling for you and handle all the setup, which is really slick and way nicer than it used to be. That's still like, even on a good fast machine, it's still like a couple of minutes to get up every time, which is a lot for a debug cycle. So having this in the Teams test tool is really cool. So, and there's other changes as well. You can create a chatbot, like a custom chatbot with RAG. Again, this is kind of like an even easier way to do some of this stuff. And they're forcing you down some little, like some rules, some paths, some kind of easy journeys. Like for instance, using Azure AI Search, using a completely custom thing, or using Microsoft 365, loading your data in from Graph and SharePoint, which is kind of cool. It's nice. I like this stuff. I'm going to definitely dig into some of this, and it might form some demos or samples or something like that. Because there's some cool new things in here, but I want to tell you about it first. Something at the end about enhancements as well, the experience of creating Entra ID client secrets, so you can change how long the secret takes to expire, which is nice as well. So I think the key message is Teams Toolkit continues to be important for Microsoft. They continue to iterate and innovate on it, which is really good to see. There's new features coming out all the time. It's just worth something like Teams Toolkit can become a part of your workflow really easily and become a really valuable tool. But then you always kind of like stay in the stuff you've always been doing, and you never look around. And they're adding all these extra features, and so it is worth every now and again just looking around and just understanding some of these features, because otherwise they could be in the toolkit and you'd never know about them. Okay, last thing I want to tell you, just a quick one, like a fun read blog post, which is Prompt Like a Pro, get to decisions faster in Teams meetings. I need this just because I like to have examples. I think Copilot and prompting in general is still such a new kind of thing for us all. It's a new skill we have to learn, both how to write good prompts and also when to remember to put the prompts in to kind of maximize the effort of get the payback, if you like, of Copilot or any other tool that you're paying for, any other AI tool. So this blog post just has some ideas for things you can do during meetings. So it's worth kind of reading through, really, just to see if any of these resonate and if they're things that you want to try out on your next meeting with Copilot or the next time you're chatting with Copilot Chat. So fairly kind of high level technically, but just a kind of good one for some ideas for some prompts coming from Microsoft that you might be interested in. All right, that's everything from me this week. Have a good week, whatever it is you're doing, and I will speak to you again next time.